What's up everyone, WizardKen here with another Xbox One World of Tanks video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than what we normally do. Usually we do like a video on reviewing a tank or a first impression, stuff like that, or playing with Bubba, but not today. Today, as you saw in the title, can the IS-7 Pen The FV215b 183, aka Death Star? Specifically, can it pen the upper plate or the upper glacis of the hull of the Death Star? Now, before you guys go and cancel out the video and be like, that's stupid, why are you doing a conversation about this? Well, this is a conversation that was brought up the other day on my live stream on Sunday. I put up the video if you want to go check it out and stuff like that, but I thought this needed to be addressed. Usually when things don't go the greatest in a live stream or even on a video, I get comments and stuff like that. Sometimes it pushes me to the point I need to do a video about it, and yesterday's live stream was not the greatest at all. It really got to the point where it pissed me off, and I was like, I'm doing a video. So anyways, I'm going to give you guys some feedback on what happened the other day so that it sets you up for the video. Now, I do have a video clip that we're going to be showing right after I'm done talking here. And we're going to be testing out the IS-7 versus the Death Star. But before we jump into that, like I said, I want to do a review of what happened yesterday. Now, it's not going to be word for word and stuff like that. I'm going to be cutting in and out. It's not going to be exact statements or anything like that, but it's going to be pretty damn close on what happened yesterday. But I also want to give a shout out to Rush Dodge. Thank you so much. I haven't been able to play with him for like 6 months. I think like since last summer or something like that. It's been a very long time. And after I told him what was going on and what I needed to do, he was very helpful and stuff like that. So thank you, Rush Dodge, for helping me out on this and also putting your 2 cents in this whole thing. Now, you're not going to hear his voice in the video, but he definitely expressed my same thoughts and views on this whole situation. So anyways, starting off, basically, while I was playing yesterday, live streaming for you guys, we were discussing the new British tank destroyer line that I'm going down right now. Now, the new line we're going down is the FV4005, or I don't know if they say 4005 or just 4005. Anyways, it's basically like another Death Star. It's a really nasty British tank destroyer. And we were talking about the gun and the armor and different things like that. And then we started discussing how, you know, the Death Star has better armor than this tank, and of course it really does, because looking at the stats of the Death Star, now we're only going to talk about just the frontal armor on the turret and also on the hull. So the hull armor is 152, which is more than the FV4005's armor, and then the turret armor on the front is 254, which is a lot of armor. And so we started discussing it back and forth, and I stated that or said, I shouldn't say state, but I said that, you know, I like playing the Death Star supportively, or you should still use it supportively, just like I've been doing with this tank line. You should, like in my Waffle 100, I don't go running up there, even though I have an autoloader, trying to push the tanks. It's not a T110E3 that has amazing armor on it. Even though the Death Star does have pretty decent armor on it, and if you get in a hold down position, you can be pretty deadly too. The problem is that you still don't have the most amazing armor. You're still not an assaultive tank, not like the T110E3 or the E4 and some of these other tanks. You know, you still need to play defensively. You need to stay back a little bit. Now, I know there's certain situations you can't do that. You do need to get in there and start popping some people off, because the gun on that thing, I mean, the aim time alone sucks on it, and then the reload is 30 seconds. It really does suck. And you're chancing, you only have 12 shots, so you're really chancing some stuff if you stay really too far back. But still, as I said, you need to play supportively. Make sure you have other people there. But moving on, there was 2 individuals that I'm not going to name, but you know who you are, wanted to fight the whole point that the Death Star could be aggressive, which it can be, but they were going to the point that the upper plate will bounce pretty much anything, and they specifically said, one person stated or said that the upper plate of the Death Star could bounce every medium and every heavy. They said there's no medium, there's no heavies, tier 10s that would be able to pen the upper plate of the Death Star. And I was like, what? I didn't agree with that. I was like, no, I've done it before, my IS-7. I've been able to pen that thing. And they were like, no. The medium tanks and heavy tanks will bounce off of this thing. And I'm like, no. I'm sorry, I got all my notes here because there's a lot of things I want to discuss with you guys. And I just thought of another thing, that's why I was just writing it down. But anyways, and I was, yeah, that doesn't sound right. So I went over and I looked at the Death Star, and I looked at the stats just like we just went over. And the IS-7, the just regular armor piercing rounds, the AP rounds that it gets, that's 250 in the sense of penetration. So it shouldn't have any problems with that. Now, what we need to consider too is that the Death Star, if you put in, the upper plate is angled. It is angled, and so the effectiveness of that armor does go up. So the effectiveness goes from 152 normal armor to anywhere between 200 and 240-ish, somewhere around there, of effective armor. So it does increase, but statistically, the IS-7 should be able to penetrate this tank pretty much no matter what. And you'll see in the video that my aiming circle does actually come up orange, which means there is a chance that I may bounce, which is problematic here and there. And I apologize, for some reason my camera wants to skip, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just skipping on the preview screen that I'm looking at, but I apologize if there was some skipping in there. Anyways, getting back, so I give them the benefit of the doubt because RNG can go in there and stuff like that, and screw you over too. That's why you get that, orange ring where you're going to get like 50% chance of possibly not being able to hit and stuff like that, or something like that. I can't remember what the orange screen. I just know that there is a chance that you may bounce and stuff like that. Anyways, so I continued on playing, and they were still making statements in the Twitch chat, which I wish I would have saved all that shit, but unfortunately it wouldn't go back enough for me to be able to show you guys what they were saying. But one of the individuals even stated, when someone was saying, they didn't believe that was going on, they said that the statement is fact. That pretty much all their information was fact. Now, that started to irritate me, because when I've had this happen in the past, when someone wants to sit there and say that something is fact, that is kind of concerning to me. Because usually when I think of facts, and I've looked up the definition and stuff like that, and now we're going to use the scientific meaning of fact, because technically you have to be scientific on the sense of the effectiveness of an armor on a tank, because you're looking at how much it's slanted, how much armor is already there, and then, of course, you have to calculate how much more the armor increases, or the effectiveness of that armor. So we're going to use the definition of scientific fact, which there's multiple different things in there, but they all pretty much mean the same thing. A scientific fact is basically if facts are verified by repeated and careful observation. Meaning that when scientists want to state a fact on something, or try to support a theory in something, what they do is they repeat over and over an observation, a trial and error of something. And as long as the results keep coming out the same hundreds of times, eventually they will say it is a fact that if I throw this apple at somebody, it'll hurt. Or if I drop an apple, it should, because gravity kicks in, it should hit the ground. They do this over and over and over again. That is fact. Okay? Now, what these people were saying were actually technically opinions. But for them to even make that statement, for that individual to make that statement, that kind of started pissing me off. And so that's when I started actually going into Tank Inspector and inspecting the tank, and got my figures between the effective armor, which is between 200 and 240-ish, kind of, depending on where you're shooting at on the tank. Now, the tank was looking straight at me when I was looking at the Death Star in that sense. So, we weren't angled anywhere, this and that. I was just looking straight at the tank while looking at Tank Inspector. Now, the other thing I want to point out too, and I'll probably repeat it again before we watch the video, is that this person did not say that they were bouncing every shot from a medium or heavy by angling their armor, which would have been an exact statement I would have taken. No, they were saying that it will just bounce, no matter what, okay? And this leads me to my next point. So I continued live streaming, and I got in my Object 268, which is a very powerful tank destroyer, and should be able to pen the Death Star pretty easily as well, because it has definitely a lot more penetration, like over 300 pen with the regular armor piercing rounds. Anyways, I do actually run into a Death Star, coincidentally, on a map. Now, I was pretty decently far away, and I shot at its lower plate. Now, RNG kicked in, and my round went high, and it bounced off the gun's barrel. I didn't do any damage to it because, of course, it hit the barrel of the gun. I didn't damage the barrel, which was kind of weird, but, of course, just depending on where it hit on the barrel, it bounced. Anyways, I see a comment once it finally went through you viewers, because there's a delay. This same individual had to say, oh, look, even the Object 268 couldn't even pen the upper plate of the Death Star. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? And they even had the audacity to sit there and say, check the replay. So you know what? I got pissed at that point. I got fucking pissed at that point. And I fucking stopped my stream. I didn't technically like stop it. They could still see what I was doing. I had to put on the Twitch video manager and go back into that video that was still being recorded at that time and show them. Everybody saw it, and I showed them exactly when I shot and where it bounced at. And I said, see, there you go. I didn't bounce off the upper plate. I hit the gun. And at that point, after showing that, I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm actually going to make a video about this shit, because I'm tired of, I don't mind discussions. I don't mind disagreements in the game. If you bring in, factual stuff and we test it out or we discuss it, I love doing that kind of stuff. We do it all the time. We talk about whether the T110E3 is better than the T110E4, and we all have different opinions on it, and it's great that we do that kind of stuff in these things. But unfortunately, this was not that kind of thing. It was their way was the only way, and it was fact, and it was God's word pretty much. And I was pissed about it because it wasn't factual. It was their opinions on what the Death Star could do and whether it could bounce. Now we're going to go into the video, guys. I apologize. I've been ranting for like 13 minutes now. But we're going to jump into the video, and then afterwards I'm going to say some other things right afterwards. But before we get into this, I just want to let you know I used two different tanks on this. I used the IS-7, which we talked about, did 250 pen, and I also used a mouse, which only does 246 pen. Okay? Now, also, just so you know, one of the things that was talked about in the live stream is that the E100 couldn't even pen the Death Star. Now, yes, if you're using the 15 centimeter and you're using only the armor piercing rounds or whatever they are, they don't do as much, and there's an even greater chance of it bouncing. But if you're using the 12.8 centimeter on the E100, you're still doing about 246 pen. But with the 15, it's only 235, so there's a greater chance of you bouncing because of the effective armor on the tank. Now, these are all armor piercing rounds, okay? So like I said, I don't have an E100, so I couldn't show you that, and I should have probably recorded a medium tank like the STB1 penning this tank, but I didn't. I said fuck it. The mouse and IS-7 is good enough for this video. So, and also one last thing, I only used armor-piercing rounds. I didn't use APCR or anything like that. Just pure armor-piercing rounds. Now, remember, what they stated, they're saying is fact. Okay? They're stating that it is fact. The other thing, remember also, I will be shooting at this tank straight on. Me and Rush Dodge went on Ensk. We went down the one line. We are on flat, even ground, and we faced each other perfectly straight as straight as we can be. Okay, he didn't angle left or right, and I shot at him. And you're going to see the results in a few seconds. But just remember, they did not specify that they angled their tank at all. They just said that the upper plate would bounce any medium or heavy tank. Tier 10s. So, here we go, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. So as you can see, the IS-7 and the mouse were both able to pen the FV215b 183 without any problems at all. I know it was a dickish move, it was a trolling move, but you know what? I don't give a fuck. It was my live stream, and I've known these guys for a very long time, these two individuals, and what they did was very disrespectful. And how they did things was very disrespectful. And I can't believe they did it. I really can't. And I'm pretty pissed off about it still. You know, I talked to so many people about it, people at work that play this game, and Rush Dodge and stuff like that, and he couldn't even believe that was happening. You know, that's very disrespectful. And like I said, this is my YouTube channel. That is my Twitch channel. What I do on there is me. And when I ask you guys, you know, to run things a certain way and be respectful in certain ways, you know, we joke around a lot, but that was being a dick. And you could tell I was getting pissed off. Everybody in chat was getting pissed off at those two individuals. And anyways, final thoughts is, I am not an expert. I've never claimed to be an expert in World of Tanks. I've played World of Tanks for a very long time, and I'm very good at it. These two individuals, I feel like they're very good players. They are very good players. I just feel like they think that they're experts, and they're not. Okay? If you're stating facts like this, and we can show you that you're wrong, you're not an expert. An expert wouldn't do this kind of shit. Okay? They wouldn't sit there and brag and say that, oh, it's going to bounce every time. No. No, it's not going to bounce every time. Okay? This was dickish. So, no, you're not an expert. And I hope this video knocked you on your ass and reevaluated how you treat people, especially other people's live streams, and how you treat people in that. Because I know other people were very disrespected by the way you guys acted. You guys were dicks. The other thing I would like to say is that I do my research. Look, I don't mind doing discussions on different tanks and what we feel is better and this and that, but make sure you do your research. I do my research on every review I do on these tanks, and even then sometimes the stats are different than what I saw on my research stuff, and you guys correct me, and that comes up to my other point. When I make mistakes, pretty much every time that I've made a mistake, I apologize for it. I always say, you know what, I was incorrect. I remember on the T110E4, I messed up on the stats on that, I believe, and I had to go back and say, guys, I apologize. I fucked up on this thing. Here's another video for it, and I apologize for that. So, and so there you go. But that's the end of this video, guys. I know some of you guys are probably like, wow, that was a trollish, dickish move, but whatever, you know. But pretty much in the end, like I said, it's my channel. Respect me and what I ask on it and stuff like that. And yeah. So, but anyways, yeah. So for those two guys that were out there, I'm sorry, I don't know how this works. Can you guys tell me the facts about this? I'm so sorry. It just fuck off.